Well, then I'll just repeat what I said, because this is very casual, very informal, and I'm looking forward to hearing some stories and some background from some people I know, and first met that man when I was 11. A child, just a child. But the idea is for you gentlemen to introduce yourself and say a little bit about what you have to do with our wonderful water right down the road a piece. So why don't we start over with Ren Nichols. Take it away, Ren.
All right.
Who are you?
I'm Ren Nichols, and for about the past 80 some odd years, since 1927, I've been part of the Allen Harbor Marine Service. My uncle started the business. My dad came along in 1928. Worked there until 1948 when he bought the place. I came along. I played around there one way or the other, sometimes getting in people's hair, other times being somewhat useful, I guess. And finally took over the business upon his retirement in 1990, and I'm still there today, running what started out as a little small building, but now has encompassed a pretty large full-service marina with all kinds of things that go on there that people don't realize. We have a big nautical gift shop, big service department, slips, moorings, that kind of thing. And just recently, thanks to Dave Davis, who's on the panel today, we purchased the Cape Cod Wind and Weather Indicators, which we're very, very proud of.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, we'll be back to you in a minute.
Good deal.
My name is Philip Ellis Chisholm, and I'm the great-grandson of Captain Sidney Ellis, who was a master mariner, and he was born in Harwich in 1858. He held 5 commands. He actually, I believe, went to school in this building. He obtained his master's license at the age of 29, and right away was given his first command. And he had a remarkable career. He survived several shipwrecks, and at the end, he succumbed to a freak storm in April 1915 off the coast of Cape Hatteras. His story was told by my grandfather, Lester Ellis, in a book that my grandfather wrote when he was 74 years old. And he came and read a book signing and a book reading in this room in 1969, just after the book was published, about the story about his own voyage with his father in the summer of 1905, 1908, as a young 14-year-old. My grandfather also graduated and was a member of Harwich High School, graduated in this room. I'm thrilled that the exhibit now about Master Mariner Captain Sidney Ellis is upstairs, along with 2 paintings of two of his command boats. One, the Alice Hobart, which he sailed for 14 years, and the first boat was the Fortuna, which again, as I said, was his first command at the age of 29. So that's what I'm doing here. Thank you.
Dave, would you like to tell us who you are?
I'm David M. Davis, and my first connection with boats was when I was 7 years old, and we've always been around Wychmere Harbor. And my grandfather was a congregational minister, and he had a church in Detroit where my father was born. And then later he had a church in Beverly. Later he had a church in Newton. And I went to school in Newton. I didn't go to school here, although I came here in 1923 when I was 4. We had an old Cape Cod house. It was built in the early 19th century, and it was owned by the Sisson family, and you know where Sisson Road is. And it was moved there, and then father and mother moved it in 1923. And that was my first year here. I was 4 years old. And at age 6, I got a little dinghy, and then later, the next year or so, a small sailboat. I spent my life in Harwich port, but I had to go away to school. We went to school we were homeschooled, and we lived on a boat for 2 years. And then I went away to boarding school. You know. So I never went to school in Harwich.
Yeah.
Lived here, and then went away in the war in the Navy. I remember once talking to Milton Welt, who should be here, and just before I went into the Navy, I was in the Naval Air Force, and just before I went in, I was in a little trouble with my memory. I was in Hartford, worked for Pratt and Whitney Aircraft, and then when the war came, I moved to Quincy and went to work for the Fall River Shipyard. And at the Fall River Shipyard, I was a pipe fitter's helper. That was as low as you could get. And Milton Welt was there, and he was painting. I was working on a 4-inch fire main, and he said he used to paint the identification on the fire mains. So he worked on the same destroyers that I worked on.
I never knew that. Did you meet Milton there? Is that how long you've known him?
Oh, no, we talked about old times.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
And let's see. In 1939, my father started this Cape Cod wind indicator business. And our first dealer was Allen Harper Marine Service. And then that was 1959. Excuse me. So I have trouble with memory. But, wasn't 59. Yeah, I guess maybe it was. No, it was 39. 'Cause I was in the business 65 years, and Milton Belt was our first, excuse me, Ren Nichols' business was our first dealer in 39, and about 65 years later, he bought the business. And I don't know what else I can tell you. We were homeschooled. We lived on a boat. 1 year on a schooner, another year on a powerboat. And then the family moved here. I think it was 39. And I went away to boarding school. And I was away at school all those years. And what else can I tell you?
When you lived on the boat, was that in Harwich and in Wychmere?
Yeah. 1 year we were on a schooner, and then 2 years on a powerboat. And then I went away to boarding school.
Was your father's powerboat the big one called Harwich?
That's right.
Yes.
It was owned by a man named Wychmere, and in those days, some old-timers turned their name backwards. So that boat was called the Renegade. Wagner is spelled backwards. And Father said, call it the Harwich. It's the Harwich from Harwich, you see, on the transom.
I always remember you as being a sailor, and the kids were sailors. Weren't all the kids?
Oh, yeah.
Was it Bullseyes?
Bullseyes, and before that, the Compass class.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Father was very active in the yacht club, and he was maybe the second or third commodore of the yacht club. His father was a minister, and he summered 1 or 2 years in Chatham, and gave up Chatham, which I understand, and he moved to Harwich, and he 1 summer or 2 summers had the Louise Larson house, which is now Christian Science Church.
Across from the harbor, yeah.
Yeah, right across from Larson Park.
Yeah.
And what can I tell you about that? Well, he bought from a man named Braddock Phillips. There's Braddock Lane down there, and Earl Phillips used to live on the corner of that Bayview Road, and his grandson, I think. And he bought a big piece of land from Braddock Phillips. And he was a minister, so Mr. Phillips, who was going fishing, said, Dr. Davis, put the money on the kitchen table, see? And he did that, and there are now 5 or 6 houses on that little parcel. And finally, there was a lane put in there, and they called it Davis Lane.
Right.
So, I don't know what else I can tell you about that.
Well, George, do you want to take a turn?